So the announcement for the actors for the Zelda movie was released today by Miyamoto on the official Nintendo page. I think it was Miyamoto. I gotta look back. But we have two completely unknown, like, not A-list celebrities acting in this movie. That's all I could hope for. Beautiful new talent that actually seem like they could be properly applied as those characters. I'm just wondering who Ganon's gonna be. That's what I'm looking for, right? I don't know if they just wanted to take a different direction because of the Mario movie, and they're like, we don't want to hire like generic A-listers. Like, let's do something different and actually, try to see this vision through. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But obviously, I've been in a little bit of a Zelda mode because I have been playing like bits and pieces here. Like, whenever I find the time, I've been playing a little bit of Breath of the Wild Definitive Edition, or Switch 2 Edition, rather. Excuse me. And so, obviously, I've been thinking a little bit about Age of Calamity because we haven't seen high nor hair of it since the most recent Nintendo Direct. And everybody was talking about us supposedly getting a Nintendo Direct in July. I'm recording this at a point in time where we do not know if that's true or not. So if it is, at the time of this recording, that's great. Hopefully we get more information on Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity because I am very much looking forward to that game. I don't know what the general consensus is. No, the general consensus on this game is very interesting because, like, a lot of people just do not mess with the warrior style games for whatever reason. There's a good portion of people that do, but a lot of people don't, or they have like very mixed feelings about it. I've always been about that. I've always been about the warrior style, so much so that it makes me mad that I haven't played the Dynasty Warriors games, and I do plan to do that, I guess starting with Origins and maybe working my way backwards. We'll see what happens. But regardless of that, I'm very excited for Age of Calamity, and there is a lot of things that I would really, really like to know, right? Because there's a lot of information in this game in particular that could come to light that could really back up the story before Tears of the Kingdom, right? Because based on the trailer, according to the trailer, this game takes place right before Tears of the Kingdom, right? And that's great, that's dandy, that's cool and all. But there's a lot of things that I feel like we could take advantage of in this situation to learn about in terms of story, lore, and just general gameplay stuff that I want to know, there's just some things I want to know, okay? So let's go ahead and talk about that, right? Probably won't take up too much of your time. So, first things first. Number one, will this story actually be canon, right? Because the thing is, right, we went through this before with Hyrule Warriors, I'm sorry, oh my god, I said Age of Calamity, Age of Imprisonment, Jesus. We went through this situation with Age of Calamity, where that game technically was supposed to take place 100 years ago. That game was supposed to be the canon of, the story of what happened before everything went down, right? And we all know how that ended because they decided to go the time fix route. They decided to go the route in which everything gets fixed, right? And so because of that, it made the story a little bit of a mess. It just created an entirely branching timeline from the main one that we know now. So it's almost so like nothing really mattered in the end or something. It's kind of a weird situation. Like, I still enjoy Age of Calamity for what it is. If not for the story, then definitely for the gameplay at the very least, because I really appreciate the just Warriors games. They're just such a nice, relaxing point for me. But regardless, we had a situation with that story in which they completely revised the canon to make it so that there was a proper end, or quote-unquote proper ending to that game. So I need to know now, is this a situation in which we could see that with Age of Imprisonment? Because I don't want that to happen. If we're going to be canon with this story, I want this to actively lead into the actual story of Tears of the Kingdom. Simple as that. I mean, if I'm being completely honest here. I mean, granted, if you could do it in a creative way to just branch the timeline, cool, fine, whatever. But I definitely don't want to be lied to this time. And I feel like they understand that now. I feel like that was one of the biggest drawbacks of Age of Calamity, is that people felt really, like, skimped and lied to, because they thought that we were going to experience the actual genuine war, only for it to not be that, so they felt a little cheated. So I feel like maybe they learned their lesson from that and actually took care of actually making a canon story that genuinely becomes a prequel title to Tears of the Kingdom. So if it's canon, great. If it's not, I hope y'all cooked up something crazy to make up for that. So we'll have to see what happens. Another thing that I want to know, I want to see if they take advantage of this, because we still don't know what happened to the Sheikah tech. It just kind of disappeared one day. And that was that. Like, is that going to be a situation in which we see something happen in the past that makes it so like, oh yeah, no, the Sheikah tech doesn't need to exist now because of something that happened in the past. So it kind of created a little time flux, or like a butterfly situation, in which whatever happened in the past made it so that at some point during those couple years of rest in between Calamity Ganon and Ganondorf, all of the Sheikah tech disappeared because of an event that happened in the past. That's one thing that I've always been curious about, and I feel like this game could definitely take advantage of that, because there's got to be a better explanation than, oh, everything just disappeared one day because we didn't need it anymore. What? That was clearly not true, and that's definitely not how that works. These things aren't made of magic, they were made of whatever. Regardless, I feel like they could definitely take advantage to explain that situation through whatever happens in this game. And if not, I mean, maybe I'm crazy, you know, maybe a lot of you disagree with me on that, but I feel like this would definitely be the time to take advantage of that and be able to explain what actually happened to the Sheikah tech and why it just disappeared at some point in the future. But even then, it still wouldn't really make any sense, because it's weird. Once you go back in time, there's supposed to be a branching timeline. But then again, I guess that doesn't really make any sense, because Zelda went to the past and created a future in which all of the sages were able to talk to their descendants about Link, and it's such a weird thing. But, you know, if you're going to do that with the sages, you may as well do it with the Sheikah tech too. Call me crazy, I feel like that could at least be some form of explanation better than somehow Palpatine returned to ass explanation with the Sheikah tech, you know what I mean? So hopefully we could touch upon that a little bit, and if not, then, you know, whatever, not the biggest deal in the world, but, you know, it's there. Gameplay wise, he probably won't be, probably not. We're probably gonna have some form of stand-in. Is Link present in this game at all? Right, because, you know, it's hard to imagine or think of many spin-offs of Zelda, if any, that don't include Link at all. Like, this might be the first, like, major Zelda title that just straight up doesn't include Link. Like, even in Echoes of Wisdom, you know, Link was a driving part of the plot. You know, he was present, but, like, you know, he just wasn't the main character. Zelda was in that. But in this case, it's the same situation in which Zelda's the main character, because she's the one that went to the past, so she's the one experiencing the Age of Imprisonment, the imprisoning war and things like that. Link is in the future doing his thing in conjunction with that, so there's no reason for him to be in the past if that's the case, right? But, like, that's the weird part, you know? Like, is Link really not gonna be here? Like, I just feel like that's crazy. I don't know, it's just weird to think about, you know? And I'm not mad about it either way. Like, if he does somehow make it to the past, or if he's, like, you know, a fun little extra character to play as, and, you know, cool, whatever, you know, not the biggest deal in the world, I don't really care. But, like, if he's not, like, that's just gonna be super interesting. Like, is Rauru his stand-in for that or something like that? Like, does Rauru even use any weapons? I don't think so, right? Not to my knowledge. I don't know. I feel like it's just such a unique situation for such a major title to not be, especially if this title is canon to the story. That's just crazy to think of that. This is Link's first time not being completely present at all for a title, you know? I mean, he'll be mentioned, of course, or maybe we'll see some cutscenes. I don't know. Weird situation. Something I've been thinking about a lot. But yeah, so if he's there, cool. If not, cool. Whatever. Doesn't matter either way. I'm just very, very curious. I want to know. This thing This is one of the things that bothered me the most about Tears of the Kingdom's story, and I feel like they could definitely do a better job if they take care of it in touching upon it here. Right? Calamity Ganon, is he brought up or even mentioned? Right? Because I always find it strange, right? I think I made a video on this. No, I did make a video on this a couple weeks ago, or a month ago, or 2 months ago, or something like that. Explaining the weird aspect of, like, you know, how they were weird about treating Tears of the Kingdom as a sequel. Because on one hand, they were, you know, trying to accommodate the fact that a lot of people are going to be returning to this game. They have high expectations for it. And so that, you know, they're coming hot off Breath of the Wild with, you know, very specific expectations. But at the same time, you know, a lot of newcomers could also potentially be hopping into Tears of the Kingdom as their first, you know, open air Zelda game. You know, maybe they didn't play Breath of the Wild. So, you know, they tried to accommodate that by, like, keeping the story of the previous game as held back as they possibly could in a lot of aspects, and that was always strange to me, right? So because of that, Calamity Ganon did not come up at all outside of one side quest, I think. I don't even know if he's technically mentioned there, but Calamity Ganon is not mentioned throughout the main story of Tears of the Kingdom whatsoever. Spoiler alert, it's been like 3 years, but either way. No, sorry, 2 years. I'm tripping hard. My bad. But regardless, is there a point where Zelda will talk to Rauru and Sonya about Calamity Ganon and, like, everything that happened with that? Because the entire point of Calamity Ganon, and the weird part about it to me, is the fact that they easily could have had a situation in which Calamity Ganon was the anger and manifestation of Ganondorf that was sealed underground for all that time. You know, that's why it appeared from Hyrule Castle. That's why it was so, like, harped and stuck around Hyrule Castle. It made total sense, but they just never capitalized on that story beat and just kind of ignored Calamity Ganon altogether, kind of treating it like Zelda didn't even, like, want to acknowledge it at all, saying stuff like, oh, even the name gives me pause. Like, the name probably gives you pause because you trapped Ganon in the castle with you for over 100 years waiting for Link. Yeah. And maybe they should probably know that, you know, like, does he come up at all in conversation or in just any form or way during Age of Imprisonment? Because I feel like that would make a lot more sense. And maybe this could be a situation in which, like, even after they manage to seal Ganondorf, Calamity Ganon is, you know, running rampant because he's just so powerful and so angry that he got sealed by Rauru that it's up to, like, Zelda, the sages, and Minoru to finish the job. But then again, that's something that probably would have popped up during Tears of the Kingdom if that's something that was canon. So I don't know. I just feel like it would be weird if Calamity Ganon just completely went utterly unmentioned throughout the entirety of Tears of the Kingdom's past and present, right? So I don't know. I would just like to hear about that because, you know, that's a huge part of Zelda's history. You know, once she gained control of her powers, the first thing she did was lock up Ganon, Calamity Ganon, for 100 years waiting for Link to return, and they finally beat him and brought peace to Hyrule, only for him to return again. Why is it so hard to mention that? Why are we acting like that didn't happen? That's super weird. So I want to see if that gets rectified or at least mentioned at some point in Age of Imprisonment. I feel like that's not a crazy request, right? And then my last thing. Do they still technically win? Is this going to be a situation in which we are going to fight Ganon under the castle, or Ganondorf, excuse me, under the castle with the help of Zelda, Rauru, Minoru, the sages, and we still see the exact same outcome? Because again, this kind of just draws back to my first point. Like, if it's really going to be canon, then it has to play out the exact same way. But, like, is that really just going to be it? Like, we're just going to lose to him only for Rauru to seal and just win the day? You know, like, is that really how that's going to happen? I'm just so genuinely curious about how this is all going to play out. And I don't know what else to really think about that. So, I don't know. Hopefully we get some major answers soon. Maybe another trailers en route once we get the Nintendo Presents. Whoa, what the heck? did I say that? No, what Nintendo Presents, Pokemon Presents is, sorry. I just made a Pokemon video, I'm just coming off Pokemon. Nintendo Direct. And they give us a lot more information in regards to Age of Imprisonment and just what's going to be happening with that game, maybe even a release date. Seems like the game looks pretty finished for the most part. I mean, and they're using a lot of assets from both Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, and Hyrule Warriors, I imagine. So that game can't be that far off. Like, there's no way, right? So we'll have to see, because we have yet to get our major Zelda title for this year. So surely they've got something cooking, but we'll have to play that one by ear. But for now, I think I've said my piece, so I'm passing the mic over to you guys, and I want you guys to tell me everything that you're thinking in the comment section below. Do you agree with me? Do you think that we could potentially see any of the things that I've listed here on the list as a major part of Age of Imprisonment, and we could see some real story development and improvements because of this prequel game, and it'll be canon, and there will be a way to flesh out the story that could help improve and lean more into the story of Tears of the Kingdom? Or are we on the opposing side of things? You don't really think that's possible. You don't think that's going to happen. None of the things that I've listed here even matter, and it's not really that important to you anyway, because you don't really care about Age of Imprisonment. Tell me everything that you guys are thinking in the comment section below, because you know for a fact that I'm always going to be down there with you guys. But with that, yes sir, it does appear to be Skid Dad Look Clocks. I'm going to go ahead and do just that. I'd like to thank you guys ever so much for watching. I truly do hope you enjoyed. Do me the greatest favor, dropping a like and a comment, and consider subscribing for more content just like this here. And with that, I'm gone. So thanks again, hope you enjoyed, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Do me the greatest favor, taking good ass care, and I'll see you all next time.